got a minute 20.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jody Vinning, and I have been a member of the Anderson Township community for 11 years. I didn't grow up here, I have no history here, but my husband and I selected this community on purpose because of the school district and the property values, and we're proud we did. But I understand there's financial issues. I get that. And let me give you a little bit of an idea here. I'm a runner. When I have a pain in my ankle or my knee or my toe, I do not go to the doctor and say, cut off my leg. It doesn't happen, it doesn't make sense. When my husband and I have issues at home with budgets, we do not put our house for sale, nor do we put our property for sale. That's not the way to fix a budget issue. And now please forgive me when I get very, very personal. My house touches Anderson property. My daughter and I had a conversation about your proposals for a hotel or a hospital in my backyard. My vibrant community, where my neighbors are out playing, children are riding their bikes, families are taking dogs for a walk. My daughter, my teenager, said she would be scared to go outside in her backyard if there's stranger danger, people rotating through our backyard every single evening. Please think about that. Scared is the word she used. I, as a parent, am here to help protect her. Take your pencil.
Before we move on to the second one, I'd like to just make a comment here. Please, all attendees that are speaking tonight, please speak from the podium and address the board, please, and then start by stating your name and address, please. We had a little bit of mix-up last month with people changing positions, and it got a little lost. So if you could please do that, I appreciate it. Number 2 here is Mary Beth Sharkey.
Sorry, I should have sat a little closer. I apologize. Mary Beth Sharkey, 3763 Amberwood Court. I have been a part of Forest Hills for 53 years, first as a student and as a graduate of Turpin High School. I've also been a teacher in Forest Hills for 36 years. I've always been so proud to be a part of Forest Hills School District. It has brought me a sense of pride, but what is happening right now is embarrassing, shameful, and very sad on both sides of the issue. I'm here as a teacher to remind you that we are the reason you have those test scores and state report cards. Yeah. Unfortunately, with the way things are headed, you will begin to lose your best and brightest. Restructuring the way we help our students through their social and emotional needs is not the answer. Neither is losing the sense of belonging created by our neighborhood schools. Continue on this path and you will lose those that work so hard for your students. I completely agree that transparency is needed, but I'd like to add the word voice as well. It is time for you to hear us. It is time for you to listen to your community, to your students, and to your school staff. So while you are watching the bottom dollar in what is a natural levy cycle, you are losing what is the heart of this district, my heart. Please listen to our voices before it's too late.
Sarah Sekiam.
Sarah Sekiam, Capitol Drive. In early October,
Mike.
Thank you. Sarah Sekiam, Capitol Drive. In early October, Advocate FHSD ran a short survey to better understand our audience and sentiments towards potential consolidation and redistricting of the schools. Over 33% of our community responded, and 682 people shared their thoughts about potential consolidation and redistricting. Based on our group size, this gives us a 3% margin of error, In other words, a lot of confidence behind these figures. We would like to share some of the relevant results with the board and the community. The community is looking for information. They care and they want transparency from the board. 94% of respondents feel much more informed, 65% are slightly more informed after joining Advocate FHSD's group and email newsletter. While we're happy to be a resource and continue our mission, we can't help but wonder, could people be seeking information from the community members willing to do the legwork and to find answers, because despite running on a platform that includes transparency, the school board is not willing to fulfill those campaign promises. So
Next up, Bill Armstrong.
Good evening, board. Some of you were voted in to put the district back into fiscal responsibility. I want to thank those members who are doing and working towards that at this time. To those who are flapping their gums, leaking misinformation to the media, threatening, screaming, doxing, sending inappropriate items in the mail to those on the board, shame on you. I challenge you to come up with a budget that is fiscally responsible without taking the easy way of doing another levy. Our kids are watching. Remember that. When you are intolerant of other ideas you may not like, you are showing your children how to act. Remember, the last board and superintendent who did backroom deals in our community that have been, some of those people have been convicted of fraud. Some board members are here to make it right, but unfortunately they have a lot to deal with, I understand, with the backroom deals that were done from the previous board and the superintendent who did things underhandedly. You have $8 million that is not paid out. Officer, I think you were informed to remove people when they spoke out.
Next up, Adrian Gutbier.
Hi, I'm Adrian Gutbier, 7909 Meadow Creek Drive. First of all, I want to thank educators that are here, the Teachers Association, the Foundation for Education, Mr. Fender, and so many of our administrators that are here and do a wonderful job every day. Thank you. One of the questions I have, we went through the financials. There are some pending lawsuits that have been out there from the construction of Anderson. A lot of that has not been brought up. I know we paid out almost $2 million and another $900,000 back in the spring, and we have another pending lawsuit for almost $8 million. Now maybe that's paid through insurance, I don't know, and maybe my research is faulty. I'm not a lawyer. Just looking things up. But when I think about lawsuits, and I think about another one that we have pending from the kindness resolution, and I think about lawsuits that could go away, dropping the kindness resolution would be one way to make one of those lawsuits go away. Drop the resolution and take one lawsuit off the plate of this district, because it's not something that most of this community supports or stands behind. As a parent, I don't stand behind it. And like many of you here, I'm not from Anderson, but I've lived here 20 years. I chose to live here. I love this district. I support it, and I love the education my daughter has received. But I don't love that resolution, and I ask you to reconsider it and drop it. Thank you.
Good evening, Kimberly Olthoff, Royal Woods Court. Thank you, Mr. Huck, for your presentation. As you pointed out, House Bill 920 really hamstrings school districts.
continue from where you were?
Under every solution, no matter how good, we eventually end up in the same position where we have to ask the taxpayers for more money. And the reason being is that the way that our schools are funded. So one, it's going to be important for everyone to get out and vote in this election. Two, we need to consider that we can't just fill holes. And as Larry very adeptly pointed out, you can't cut your way to fiscal health. I would put selling property, maybe not the office on Beachmont, but selling property doesn't help fill that hole. Eventually, we end up in the same position. So we're putting a Band-Aid on something that we then have to realize again. I'm going to argue with you guys tonight that the most important thing that we can do to give ourselves the time, because this is not a critical, it has to be decided in 2-month scenario. If we put up a levy, if it includes a PI fund, something that can get us through this transition and properly give this the attention it deserves, go through all the scenarios and not make a snap decision before moving forward. I think that's an opportunity that we can do as a community and give you guys the opportunity to figure out what the best path forward is under the circumstances that every district in Ohio faces.
Thank you. Jason Simmons, Heather Glen Drive. I'd like to give you all the benefit of the doubt that you honestly think you're doing the right thing with this resolution. That this culture of kindness is about focusing on what makes us alike as opposed to what makes us different. The problem is we've told you that that's not the message being received. Students and parents in our own school district have told you that this resolution only serves to further marginalize disenfranchised members of our community. The culture of kindness resolution, regardless of intent, is a product of ignorance. The fact that it was passed in the first place is the exact reason we need to repeal this resolution now. And you're not alone. Most of us are ignorant or uneducated, or at best have a very surface level knowledge of some of the ugly truths of discrimination in this country. And that's because we weren't taught these things in school. We weren't taught about the experiences of people of color. We weren't taught about the experiences of members of the LGBTQ community. And as a result, we end up with things like motions to pass a bathroom policy requiring students to use the bathroom of their biological birth sex, citing rumors or best anecdotes and feigning concern for student safety. We can't make policy based on anecdotes. The only group that isn't safe are the students in our trans community who can't be their authentic selves for fear of harassment and bullying from other students or from our elected officials. But you can change all that. You can help restore trust in our community and let us know that you're listening, and you can do it tonight. And I'm asking the board to repeal the Culture of Kindness resolution tonight.
Tim Curry, Patterson Road. Only lived here 62 years, so I don't know much about what's going on around the district at all. First off, this is a pretty sad setup for a sound system. Secondly, a pretty sad setup for a classroom for a meeting this size. It would be a little nicer to have a little bit better there. But I want to ask two questions. First off, why are we 2 months away from a deadline that has to happen right now? What deadline is this 2 months from? Do we have to be?
Well, what I was referring to is if there's a decision to have any type of levy, whatever that may be, whether it's PI levy, income tax, any type of any sort of a ballot initiative, you're going to want to know that because the board has to, by law, take 2 actions, one probably in January, one probably at a special meeting in February. So you got to have that stuff so you know what you're going to ask the auditor for. So that's the only reason I say you got a couple months. If you choose to do nothing, that's another option.
For a left.
For a levy.
For a left.
Correct.
Understand. That was not spoken of earlier. You just said we had 2 months until we had to make a decision.
Right.
And left us, especially those that couldn't hear, with very big questions in our minds there. The other thing that I've got just a question about is before you got deeply involved in the discussion of the Anderson High School property, and we're already discussing with the developer whether he came forward to start it or not, it was denial, denial. Oh yeah, by the way, yeah, we're talking to him.
Thank you, sir.
What's the question?
Yeah, you want to hear the rest?
Oh, I didn't fall downstairs, that's a good first step. My name is Noah Mayerhofer, and I live on Idaho in Idaho Hills. My topic today is consolidation. This community has supported two very successful high schools for 50 years. Choosing a plan to change that without community support, including the vote, I think would be a huge mistake. Also, the one high school option is very complex. The moving parts of building and remodeling, eliminating hundreds of activities for kids, and relocating a few thousand of them would not be easy. If you're planning to go forward by relying on data from those who profit from the move, I have little doubt that we will be collectively introduced. I understand you're being pressured by outside agents to go fast, and I think that's a mistake. The push for speedy decisions is a well-known sales tactic. I also understand you don't want to put a levy on the ballot, but even with redistricting, how long did that last? Things that are too good to be true usually are, and things like a taxpayer guaranteed income tax known as a blank check. Now, I don't know if one high school is a good idea or not, but transparent options vetted by an independent team of experts is needed here, and you need time to do that. Given the facts, I think this community will tell you what to do if you do that work and ask them. Thank you.
Kirsty Pellegrini, Shady Hollow Lane. Good evening. My name is Kirsty Pellegrini. I graduated from Sherwood, Nagel, and Anderson High School. I would like to start by saying I had Mary Beth Sharkey for 5th grade social studies, and she is a fantastic teacher who did I've watched many things pass on this board. Many people said they didn't want those things to pass. And my chief concern is that the fact that the kids in East District are not being listened to. The decision to still pass things they strongly spoke against shows that you do not consider their opinion. As a teenager, it feels hopeless to not be heard. Let me remind all of you that serving on a school board is not about only serving the people who voted for you, but serving the community as a whole, especially the kids who cannot vote.
Well done.
There are multiple feelings that are happening. This is why people are getting very angry and yelling. But we need to come to an agreement. I think the division on the board is really disappointing. And I want to leave with this Mother Teresa quote: "If we have no peace, it is because we have forgotten we belong to each other." Thank you.
Is there a Mary Ford in the audience? Next up, Emily Roth.
Emily Roth, Forest Crest. Good evening. I'm both a Forest Hills parent and a mental health therapist. I've been working in the field of child and youth mental health for over 16 years. We're experiencing a mental health crisis among our youth. The CDC did a survey in 2021 regarding mental health in youth. They found that 44.2% of students surveyed experienced persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness. At that same time, about 9% had attempted suicide. They also discovered that strong relationships with others at school were significantly protective. Students who felt close to persons at school had about half the rate of mental health concerns as those who did not have close relationships at school. Those who did not have close relationships were twice as likely to experience poor mental health again. If we create a massive high school, have a separate building just for freshmen, and pull younger children away from their elementary schools where they've already built close relationships, what impact will this have on our children's mental health? Now is not the time to turn our kids' lives completely upside down by consolidating schools. Haven't our children lost enough over the past 2.5 years? My son is in 4th grade, and this is the first time since kindergarten that he has the opportunity to experience a normal school year. He's looking forward to 2 more years at the only elementary school he's ever attended in person. I have little doubt that this community would pass a levy if needed if their only options were consolidation or raising.
Hi, Jeff Nye, 1,000 Ingersoll. In 2014, there was a bond issue on the ballot. The district put out a fact sheet in the form of a Q&A that's still available on the district's website. I printed this a few hours ago. I'd like to read you a little bit of it. Do you need 2 high schools? Yes, our community supports our current configuration of 2 high schools, a middle school, and 6 neighborhood elementary schools. Did you consider consolidating schools? Forest Hills did consider consolidating schools and sought community opinions on the topic through formal and informal meetings, including conducting multiple community surveys and holding meetings. The community said they would not, italicized, would not, support consolidation of schools at any level and would support maintaining 2 high schools, middle school, and 6 neighborhood elementary schools. I gotta tell you, I don't personally have a very strong opinion about what the right number of schools is, but it's clear that the majority of the community wants the schools that we've got. You know that if you were out in the community talking to them. Instead of wasting time pursuing a plan that the community doesn't want, get out there, build relationships, build trust with the community so they will pass an operating levy that every school district needs every few years.
Kevin Mishak, 8433 Holiday Hills Drive. I'd like to read a quote from Teddy Roosevelt's 1910 speech in Paris. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or whether doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs and comes up short again and again. Because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. But who knows the great enthusiasm, the great devotion, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who is at the worst, if he fails, at least he fails while daring greatly. So that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who knew neither victory or defeat. I've been aware of the financial issues of this district for years. I've been here before in front of the previous board. This is not news to me. I am very excited about the new superintendent taking a proactive approach going forward.
Thank you. Anna Mays.
At the last board meeting, the board mentioned that we need to address bullying, while at the same time attacked our trans students. I want to point out that this school board is the bully in this district. How can you say that we need to address bullying and kids should respect each other? Meanwhile, you blatantly disrespect anyone who disagrees with you. You disrespect our children for differences in gender, identity, ethnicity, and that list keeps going. I was raised that respect is a two-way street, and you must give respect to get it. You don't show any kind of respect to this community. But as a reminder, you are elected officials, elected to represent the people of this community, not just the ones that look like you or agree with you, but all of them. I mean, I'm seeing you guys look me in the eyes for the first time. You usually are not even paying attention to us when we're speaking. It's a personal school district, and we stand for much better. And you see we've come together to stand against the bully. It's not too late to start making your rights wrong, to start carrying yourselves like respectable elected board members. Start taking corrective action. You get to choose every day who you want to be. You can choose to do better.
April Roush, St. Cliff Drive. Residents are not tourists. Residents stay and pour investments into the community, their own homes. They put in time and they trust the schools with their most valuable asset, our children. But residents have to make a decision where to live as tourists decide where to visit. Has Paris torn down the Arc de Triomphe or the Eiffel Tower? Has Yellowstone dug a trench to modernize Old Faithful? The answer is no. Paris hasn't had to do that. Yellowstone wouldn't dare. Why? Because these are their main attractions. They are the draw. The attractions make all the rest of the commerce possible. If you don't have a major asset, you can create one. But as a community, when you have two high schools performing in the top 40 of around 600 in the state of Ohio, you don't need to recreate that. What you do need to do is be trustworthy stewards of it. You need to have the wisdom to accept the win that these schools are. The way to be faithful, trustworthy stewards is to pay the bills, support the staff, acknowledge the needs and the achievements of the kids. The Forest Hills Foundation demonstrated what a difference that makes and what we can continue to support. Ask not what Forest Hills land can do for you. Ask what you can do for the students and families of Forest Hills.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Is there a Judy Goldowski in the audience?
Judy Godowski, Eglinton Court. Mr. Bibb, you've been very outspoken about the financial inefficiency of the last board. So I went back to some of the statements that you made while you were campaigning, and these are direct quotes. This is from your internet page. It became obvious early on that the board and the district are frequently not transparent or responsive. When elected to the board, I, Mr. Bibb, will resolve these issues by openly addressing problems during meetings rather than denying that they exist. I see being a school board member as a servant role. I resolve to repair the strained relationship between the board and the community. End quote. You had a podcast on Cancel Left, and twice I heard you say, how can spending public money be a private matter? And yet, that's exactly what all of you have done. You said private emails should never be exchanged between board members and board members and administrators, and text messages regarding pertinent topics should never be deleted. And finally, you said,
that you saw your whole goal as being one to let the light in and work with the public.
Good evening. My name is Christy Burning, and I'm a resident at 1740 Randall Court. Tonight I'm speaking on community voice. According to the district's website, the #1 duty of all school board members is, and I quote, actually printed the internet, I know you're not supposed to do that, but I did, and it is engaging community members in decision-making about the district and the school. Last month, I was deeply disappointed and alarmed when the board chose not to reject a motion to host a public forum. In recent weeks, I've heard that there's some rumors that you may be doing something virtually about consolidation. I need to hold it? Yes. I'm so sorry. And a virtual option to me is not really sufficient. I think the reason people are so upset is no one's really feeling for it. And so my suggestion is that you take a note from what they did in 2010. I actually attended when they did roundtable discussions at Naval. They had 2 nights, 200 people, actually it was more than 200 people, and they accommodated them as well. And it was very productive. And the things that we gained from that was it gave community members the chance to offer input and participate in productive dialogue. It provided district leaders with critical data on which to make their decisions, and it increased trust levels between the board and the community.
Scott Gilbert, Cabinet Circle. I moved here 12 years ago, specifically to start a family in Anderson Township, 4 Forest Hills schools. Now I have 2 daughters at Nagle and Wilson. We love this town. I've been coming to meetings ever since the new board was installed. Honestly, I'm disgusted with your reactions when the public speaks. You guys can't even pay us the courtesy of paying attention to us. You twirl your hair, you look away, you play with your phones, you fidget under the table. What about all our time? The thousands of hours where we come here and listen to you drone on. We deserve the respect and the opportunity for open discussion. In closing, how much have you guys spent on litigation and lawyers in the last few years? You run on transparency, yet you continue running up the bill. Get rid of the resolution. You want to show good faith and get the community to open dialogue with you? Get rid of your silly resolution, fire the lawyers, put that money back in the pot. Hire some experts that know what they're talking about to give you financial breakdowns, not some washed up old man from somewhere else.
Jenny Arnold.
Jenny Arnold from Spyglass Ridge. The voices that I've heard here tonight are reminiscent of voices that I've heard in the community in recent weeks and months. And it really is a community where people are driven here for the schools. People stay here for the schools. People are willing to invest in the schools because the schools are the show in this town. That's what people are here for. People want their schools to be healthy. People want their children to be healthy. They're willing to sign up for what they need to do to make that happen. We know in April that the board was told that it would take a levy of 4.7 to 6.5 mils to keep things going. We heard that several months ago. We've heard tonight that that number remains somewhat similar. We've heard almost no voices tonight in favor of consolidation. While we know you've been considering that behind closed doors, we've heard one voice that told you to dare greatly and to be willing to fail. We're not willing to fail with our children. This is not something that we can gamble with. If there is going to be a decision to consolidate,
We certainly need substantial input and to hear the voices of the community because there are other options. Consolidation is not the only way out.
That's the end of public commentary.